Hello and welcome to Azur Lane Meta. If after this video you want to help support the channel, please check out my affiliate store at kit.co/AzurLaneMeta. Hello guys and welcome back. We are going to be doing a build a fleet video today. I used to do these a little bit earlier in my channel. I've kind of gotten away from them, but I want to come back and do them because I really enjoy doing these. They take a lot of time to make though, because you got to level up all the ships to level 120 and whatnot. So I kind of want to do one for each faction, and today is going to be another build a meta fleet, but it's going to be more like a build a meme fleet because I wanted to start by building a Chinese fleet, but there's not really much to do in the Chinese faction. Sure, you can build a China wall like I did here, but there are no large capital ships that the Chinese faction has, and probably won't get any given the time period, so we're not going to be able to build a full Chinese faction, so I've decided to opt into a communist faction, which includes the Soviet Union, or Russia, or whatever, the Northern Union faction, because they have some large capital ships. So we have here Sovietskaya, and fortunately enough, she actually gets buffed by the Chinese ships as well, so it kind of works in the synergy line of them being one faction together. Being the two communist factions, they buff each other, and they're really not PvP-oriented ships. However, the Russian faction also really doesn't have that many ships as well, so yes, I could play Gangut here, but she's bad, I don't have her leveled, and we'd still be missing a ship, so we're going to actually have two different ships. Our first one here is going to be Warspite, and our second one is going to be Enterprise. And the reason why we're going to be using these two, there could a lot of better options, I think, but I wanted to stay a little bit in theme, at least be on the Allies side. All these countries, the US, Britain, Russia, or the Soviet Union, and China, were all allies. So at least we have that function, as well as both Great Britain and the United States had enacted some socialist policies during this time to kind of quell their own communist uprising that were much smaller than in the first two countries. But they made some compromises in socialist policies to kind of quell that at the time. So we're just going to roll with it. And of course, we picked two ships that could potentially be PvP relevant because we're going to need all the help we can get. So let's go look at these ships and what I'm equipping with them and how we're going to use them. There will be a timestamp in the description if you just want to skip to how well they've done. But this is the fleet we're going to be using, and we can go into basically what we have, and we'll start with our flagship. If you're wondering why it's named DRX instead of Sovietskaya Russia, it's basically because that is a moderator on my server, and we're having a little bit of fun. He's from Russia. We don't have it 200 affinity because I don't use this ship very often. But we are going to be using the MK6 because at plus 10 equipments, this is still the most DPS that we're going to be getting from a battleship gun. It is HE ammo, which is not a problem because there's nothing from this ship that is going to be targeting back row specifically. So we could potentially have it to shoot into the front row, which HE is typically better for that. For our auxiliary gun, there are two options really. It's this prototype gun or the AP prototype gun. This one is the better one for HE, and we're going with that. We're going to actually use the other one and the other one to kind of, the other AP auxiliary gun on the Warspite to kind of hedge a little bit for depending on what gets back. This obviously crushes light armor, but the AP gun is going to be able to kind of pierce through two enemies if both of them get back, and that might actually happen. For our HE, we're going with the Bofors Stag, and this is actually very important for this ship specifically because she has a low amount of hit and luck, so we do need her to hit, and so that, it does help. We're kind of in the range where we see a lot of benefit from just a little bit of hit stat. Continuing with that, we have the SG Radar, which gives a lot of hit, a little bit of evasion, which is key for PvP, and if you guys don't know, SG Radar is one of my favorite equips for battleships in PvP. White Piercing Shell, probably the best offensive auxiliary for battleships, once again, giving some more hit stat and, of course, the firepower and the crit chance. She's got a big HP pool, so hopefully that can help us, but we don't really have too many other things defending us other than maybe the heavy armor. We do have a good stat pool, though. We have a barrage at 75% chance, that's high enough where we can reset for it. It's actually a solid barrage, but not exactly a barrage built for PvP, and this is kind of one of the problems that this barrage is it's a very good kind of mob clearing ship, and she's kind of built in other ways to be a boss ship. And that's actually this other skill. This is a skill that's going to benefit us from using the Chinese ships. It's going to give us some accuracy and firepower, which are like the two most important stats. So she's going to be pretty beefy. She's not a bad ship by any means. Continuing on, we have Warspite, like the queen of PvP. You can even see in that fleet power, or in the power, how powerful she is. And she's not even oathed here. We're going to go with the AP gun here. This is the 3-shot AP gun. I do not have the champagne gun, which is from PR3. That would be the best option here. Getting the 3 shots is actually kind of important over that 457, which only has 2. But this 3-shot one definitely is outclassed by the champagne gun, and it will be switched over when we do, in fact, get it. But I haven't been focusing on PR3 yet because we're still focusing on finishing my Frederick. In terms of the auxiliary, this is one of the best auxiliaries for PvP because it can pierce, and once again you're going to be in range of your opponent's vanguard, so you can start shooting at them, and having bullets that can pierce through multiple ships is pretty good, especially as Azumas and more kind of cruisers become more relevant. The AP ammo is not as much of a detriment anymore because of that, and barrages now are starting to be able to catch fire. For our AA gun, we're going to have the twin 113, and basically this is the highest damage, at least burst damage, for an AA gun, other than I think the Maid, the AA gun from the Maid campaign is better, but that's event exclusive. It's a one-of, in terms of things that are regularly available for players, this is going to be your highest burst DPS, and we're going to try and lower that firing rate by equipping faster firing AA guns to other ships, and then allowing Warspite's good anti-air to kind of cover and scale with this high damage. Once again, we're going to need a little bit of luck here, so we're going with full-on offensive Warspite, so the double shells, so that we can get full advantage of those crits and just completely do a lot of damage, because we'll probably have to reset a little bit today, just given the fleet we're trying to use. And to continue on with the RNG that we're going to need, the luck we're going to need, we're going to play Enterprise so that we can have everyone's favorite skill, the 70% Lucky E, so we're going to be trying to reset for that. And for the fighter, this is the best surface damage DPS. Obviously, it's PvP. We don't care about AA damage for the most part, so we're going with surface damage. And then, obviously, continuing with the surface damage, we're going to go with the Helldiver. It also has a lot of spread. We're focusing on primarily going to be worried about triple battleship backlines, or at least double battleship backlines. So we're going to use the Avenger, give us an advantage there. We are going to try and get Enterprise to survive. If you guys haven't noticed, we have very little HP on this Enterprise. We have medium armor. She can get sniped really quickly by a Warspite or something. Obviously, on the offensive, we can move her around to try and avoid that, but we still need her to maybe dodge a shell or two. So we're going to play this steering gear, maybe get her to potentially survive into a second launch, which is very key for getting this to be convenient. And of course, my favorite carrier equip is the aviation fuel. This is for PvP only, but the extra HP and the extra speed is pretty nice. The loss of 30 aviation is not that big of a deal. That's mathematically a very small amount of damage that you're putting up. So let's go to the Vanguard here. Yatsen is the key here with this skill right here. Dragon Empery Bond is basically the meat and potatoes of this whole fleet. It gels them all together. When we get Pinghai and Ninghai together, we are going to decrease the damage that they take and increase the evasion. So there's 30% chance more that they are going to be dodging an incoming shell, because it's evasion rate, not evasion stat. And then, of course, we have 20% less damage on the ones that do hit. Obviously, this is one of the least beefy light cruisers there is. And in fact, all the Chinese light cruisers are very, they have light armor and they have low amounts of HP. So without that skill, they get absolutely demolished. Of course, we have some of the other increased damage to Sakura Empire ships. That's not really going to make much difference because this Vanguard deals very little damage, even though we are going to be playing most of the Japanese fleets. I decided to go with an AP gun and an HE gun split. The second mount, I ended up going with the slower reload HE gun. This does more damage, but actually has a lower DPS because it reloads slower, but it's going to be going on that second auxiliary slot while we have the main gun that fires a little bit faster in an AP setting. So if we're facing against the Zumas, which is probably the scariest thing that this fleet has to function against, we do get a little benefit from that AP. Going with this Bofors gun, not the Stag, this one has one of the fastest firing rates. It's not the fastest. There's some PR ones that are better, but availability wise, this one has one of the best combinations of damage to firing rate. It's also still a lot faster than that Twin 113 that we put on our backline. And in terms of the auxiliaries, we're going with complete survivability build. So repair toolkits, because once again, she's actually low in HP, so it's not necessarily, most cruisers benefit more from auxiliary equips that increase evasion over HP. The Chinese Vanguard needs both basically, and so we're going with both survivability. We're not focusing on any damage from this front line, and so we're just focusing on getting them to survive. So we go with the evasion equip and the HP equip and splitting them that way. Ping Hai and Ning Hai are going to be built very similarly, and so we're going to talk about them together. Obviously, they bond together. They both have this bond, which basically increases their firepower, which seems great, but 35% firepower is not huge for them. And then, of course, they have, once again, the increased damage to the increased damage to the Japanese. But this Warrior Soul from the retrofit is kind of interesting as we increase the speed, which is very helpful, actually, having that increased speed for survivability, maybe dodging shells and things like that. So we both go with the HE prototype 152 millimeter. This is probably the best light cruiser gun if you're going with a single, like, one gun that you can put on a light cruiser. And so we're going to just put that on this for both of them. I only have one rainbow torpedoes, so we're only going to equip that. But for the other one, we're going to equip the quad gold. And if you actually look here, the damage is 145 per torpedo and 145 per torpedo. So really what you're giving up by not going rainbow is you are giving up one of those extra torpedoes and 25 torpedo stat, but you are getting an effect. You're getting actually a shorter firing rate, so you actually get to fire them quicker, which is kind of an interesting trade-off. So if you are newer and you didn't get the event exclusive rainbow torpedoes, or you're like me and you only got one and you need two, then you can use this quad, and this quad is available in boxes. It's also available in the most current event where you can farm, so for the Eskimo event, so that works fine. We're going with, once again, the same AA gun for Yatsen for the same reasons. We're going with the steering gear, once again, to try and keep them alive longer, but their low HP means we need an HP equip for that other slot. And we don't really care about their torpedo damage. It's not going to be that much, so we're not going to put in a rainbow torpedo auxiliary or anything like that, or try and do the black auxiliary. And that's actually one of the reasons why we're using the homing torpedoes here, is because we don't want to waste an auxiliary slot on the torpedo auxiliary weapons, because there's just not going to be that much damage from this Vanguard. We benefit more from this Vanguard surviving longer, so that our backline, our Warspite, can kind of snipe their backline, and so our Enterprise can get more lucky E procs and not have to worry about, my opponent's Vanguard just destroying her in the backline. So really, we're just trying to get this Chinese wall to hold. And so up front, we're going to use the Pearl Tiers, because this is the best PvP equipment there is. It just heals 10%, and so you should play it. 500 auxiliary. And you can't have two of them, so we have to go with the repair toolkits for the Ping Hai, who's going to be in the middle. And the reason that she's going to be in the middle is just because she has literally 32 less health. It does not really matter which one you put in either way. They're almost identical, but there's a little bit more health for that Ning Hai, so we're going to put her in the front. She's slightly better. And that's the fleet, guys. That's what we're going to be using today. We're going to be using this whole fleet for what we're going to call the communist fleet. We're going to see how well it does against the meta, how well it stacks. I imagine it's going to be a little rough. We're going to need a little bit of RNG, maybe some resets. I don't know how this is going to go, but one thing I want to note is when I've been practicing this fleet, sometimes I've had to actually switch the Sovietskaya and the Enterprise, and put Enterprise in the middle, and put the Warspite and the Sovietskaya on the ends. And the reason I do this is so that we can snipe an opponent's ship. And really what we're trying to do is try to do 3 backline versus their 2 backline, because that's going to give us our largest advantage, especially if we run into Hiru fleets where we really do need that proc on Hiru early, or else we can Lucky E all day and it still won't matter. So what it does, it allows Warspite to trigger her barrage that snipes across, and we have DRX at the 75% chance to snipe in her same direction, and that kind of will create 2 barrages headed towards the same backline ship. And hopefully if Warspite then triggers another shot into the ship that she has now marked for targeting, that means that ship will be dead after round 1. And if we could potentially get some of their battleships to fire into our China wall and get those to miss, that's going to be the recipe for success of this fleet. So we'll get right into it and see how it did on the rush. Have you ever wondered how I get my game footage for Azur Lane? Well, I use my computer and BlueStacks. BlueStacks is an Android emulator for PC, and it allows you to play mobile games like Azur Lane on your computer. If you're interested in an Android emulator, there are referral download links in the description under affiliates. Alright, so here I am dubbing over the rush. Obviously, with 25 minutes to go, we are going to be doing 10 out of 10 attempts, and then we're going to refresh into 5 more attempts and then rush those and see how high and if we can get Admiral of the Navy. Here I'm zooming through this fleet just because it was a joke fleet. There's no problem that we're going to run into. They were under level, just complete joke, but we did get the plus 12 just because we had waited. So we're going to go in here. Here's a Namagi Spite fleet, so this is a very competent fleet, at least in the backline concern. We see Noshiru and Yukikaze in the front line, so and Ibuki. So this is kind of a torpedo fleet. This is actually a fleet that I feel like we have a great advantage against, because the torpedo fleet, as we're all light armor with a high evasion rate, isn't going to do too much damage to us. The Warspite is going to be targeting our, in this case, very beefy Sovietskaya. Like I mentioned earlier, we are going to be moving our Enterprise to the center to kind of focus on sniping that Amagi early, and then that hopefully will decrease the evasion rate of their opponent's backline and allow us here. Our front line was actually able to kill their front line because, once again, torpedo front lines are a little bit weaker, and we were able to dodge their torpedoes early on. And wow, that actually was a nice little set going into that heavy armor Warspite. And we have our front line did really well there. This is very good showing here off the bat, our first legitimate fight. And Warspite obviously MVP. I expect that to be through this whole way. So we got another one. We got another Namagi Spite. So once again, this should be pretty good for us. The front line is once again going to be Noshiro Yukikaze, so we're going to be seeing that all day. I don't expect that to be any different. And similarly, we see those torpedoes not doing much damage to our front line. We're just kind of shedding through them. Their San Diego is not going to do too much to us. I mean, Enterprise obviously is going to do some less damage because of that San Diego that they have, but not too much to worry. Once again, we're targeting that Amagi with our little pincer attack between Warspite and Sovietskaya, and with almost no health, we get our full Vanguard to survive. The Pearl Tears comes, it doesn't make too much of a difference, but we're going to go with 3v3 on the back line. We got that Lucky E, which is perfect given they don't have a Hiru, so proccing Lucky E and your opponent not having a Hiru and their Vanguard being destroyed is pretty much it. And at this point, we're just waiting for Warspite to clear out Warspite. And perfect. It was not too bad. So far, we got 2 legitimate fleets here, and both have gone pretty swimmingly. That Namagi Spite is not too difficult. Obviously, we're on attack, so we do get that boost. But their Warspite targeting our Sovietskaya has not been too bad. Now we get to go against a Namagi Ru. This is actually probably one of the scarier fleets, but they have a Rune in that front line, and Rune is a shield tank, so I'm not too worried about that, because there's not really anything that's going to... We don't have a Vanguard that deals a lot of damage from firepower, so this should not be too bad clearing this front line, and I'm not really worried about Rune. But that Hiru is a little bit scary. And we got the Lucky E proc, so that's very important. So that should literally end their Vanguard. And yeah, you can see basically all they have left is Yukikaze. The other two went down pretty quickly. Amagi's gone, so now we can start picking away. We have a 3v2 on the back line, which is exactly what we want. And actually now we get to maybe launch a set of torpedoes into their back line. Perfect. And now we get all versus Hiru here, and that's a lot of damage to get the final counter. And it's gonna hurt a little bit, but we got our Pinghai Ninghai combo sitting in the back, and it's just over at this point. Doesn't really matter what they do to our back line because we get free shots into Hiru like that. Much better than I expected. They did have a suboptimal front line, so that could play into some advantage of why that was able to happen, but you know, I'll take it. Enterprise gets that MVP because of the proc of Lucky E. And here, this is another joke fleet, so we're just going to speed through it. You don't need to waste too much of your time here, just to, you know, show that this is the next part of the rush that we got. We got our points from it, and we'll move on to the more important fleets that you guys care about. This one right here, another Namagiru, but this one has Azuma, Yukikaze, and Juno. I assume that Yukikaze is going to have the Pearl Tiers on this as well, so this is actually a very comparable front line, and maybe we'll just run this all the way out because I kind of want to see if this would even be able to get there. We're going to actually target the Hiru, see if we can get that to proc early this time. Last time I targeted the Amagi, I think that was just by plain chance. I just did my first run against it, hadn't changed my lineup, and then if I don't get it, I usually reset and change the lineup as needed. We get the final counter to proc early, which is great. We get all those torpedoes from those homing torpedo to miss. We are having almost everything go perfect that we could at this point. And I mean, Warspike now gets to this free range on a Hiru that's already procced, and this is going pretty solid. This Yukikaze is I guess dodging a little bit more than we would have preferred. It's probably going to defeat our Pinghai here, which is a little bit of a problem, but ooh, that hurts. And their Amagi's a little too healthy, so this one is actually going to be very rough here. And Lucky E proc, so I'm thinking I'm okay here, but Yukikaze goes and rams Enterprise. Enterprise is invincible to damage dealt by shells, but it's because it has a perfect evasion rate. Well, ramming is not able to be dodged even by perfect evasion. So Hiru's invincible, Enterprise is perfect evasion. So we got a loss there, and that's really disappointing. That we were able to take a loss to there. But here is another joke fleet. It's a KMS fleet. It's not even a leveled KMS fleet, so it's not even like they tried. But yeah, pretty easy, and you know, shake off that loss to what I'd call the super meta fleet, the fleet that I typically use anyway. I sometimes like to use Noshiro over Juno, but the fleet that they were using is one of my favorite fleets to use. Here we go, we got another Namagiru, but this one has a non-retrofitted Hiru, so that makes this a lot easier. This Hiru should go down a lot quicker and easier than a retrofitted Hiru just because of the stats. I mean, there's a reason why non-retrofitted Hiru was in competition with some of the other ships that you don't even hear about today, like Hyuga and what was the other? I'm trying to remember what they are. Oh, another Lucky E proc, so it just, you know, continues to help us. That Juno really did have a martyr kind of perfect timing there, which is fine. Like I said, we shouldn't have too much of a problem here. This fleet is not completely leveled, and so level advantage is certainly extremely important for all types of battles, even in PvP. We got the final counter, but you know, it's actually going to be a little bit closer than I would have hoped, just because Hiru got a perfect Juno heal at the perfect timing. But that Lucky E should save us, and yeah, it didn't really matter. It was going to die from the Warspite anyway. So we got past that, and maybe we'll get another rematch against another Namagiru. Enterprise gets the MVP here because of Lucky E procking, and this one, another joke fleet. And if I've ever seen a meme fleet at all, it's Bismarck, Hood, and King George V. That is the most meme, and then all the starters for the Vanguard. That is the most meme fleet that I've ever... If I've ever called a meme defense fleet, this is definitely one of them. So it's whatever. We get a free win. These happen from time to time, and they get a little bit of advantage of lagging. We get a plus 11 off of that, which is actually really surprising. Another meme fleet here. I see we see Ark Royal, another meme ship having Ark Royal around. And I think the next one, though, if I remember correctly, it's been a while since I've actually done this rush, so I don't remember exactly how everything went. I remember the general gist. I remember how it ended, but I don't remember exactly how it went. Okay, the next one. This is a real one. Namagi Ru, everything's ready. We got a Juno, and we don't have enough exercise. We got to wait 2 minutes. Yeah, see that 2 minutes right there? We got to wait 2 minutes, and there we are. Now we're set to go, and we got Noshiro, Juno, and Azuma. So this is a very real Vanguard with a fully leveled, fully equipped, everything done backline. So this is actually going to be a really good test to see what we can do here. Our Vanguard is actually doing okay. Nothing too bad. We'll see what this first set of strikes will have. We got our Lucky E procced, and we got our Soviet Skya procced. So that's about perfect. We got our double damage in, and we got our unguaranteed barrage in. Obviously, Warspite's barrage is guaranteed. And that means that we got to basically get Hero onto like last legs here, which is fantastic. So we just got the final counter, but the Lucky E and the barrage proc again. So very good luck here, and this should just about do it. We lost our Vanguard, but Warspite should be able to kill this Hero before it's able to finish us off, and it does. So we did end up proccing Lucky E twice. We did proc our barrage on Soviet Skya twice, so I think that battle would have been a lot worse shape if that didn't happen. We got Garp here with another Namagi Ru, and another viable Vanguard again. So a lot of Namagi Rus, which is actually really slowing up this process. Just having, these are long battles, at least in PvP sense, and we obviously aren't sniping the hero as quickly as we'd like. Obviously, you can see the Warspite is targeting the hero, and so is the Soviet Skya. They're both going to target, but it's still a slow battle. We're playing a very defensive fleet, or defensive offensive fleet, because our Vanguard is not doing much damage. It's just focusing on surviving, and our backline is like not the most optimal in terms of the damage output for synergies. It's still pretty good though. It's just a little bit slow, which is not great for rushing. And I love when those torpedoes miss. I love when the homing torpedoes miss. It makes me feel so good. Because a lot of times I use Barracudas instead, just to not have to deal with that and just keep consistency's sake. But here we go. Hero's gone, and the Pearl Tier is just proc. That's a little late, but I guess our whole backline's alive, and you know, we did lose Ping Hai before Ning Hai, but that's all right. Lucky procs, but a little late for it to mean anything. But yeah, we had that. Actually, not too bad. That was just straight up pretty good. You know, this fleet's doing okay. I got Mandy 49 here with a Namagi Spite again. So, but this one I believe had a Zuma. Yeah, this one has a Zuma, so that's a little bit more worrisome. Where Zuma does kind of shrink our front line here just by the sheer amount of firepower damage that she can do. And not too bad, actually. Not too bad. We got a little bit nice with the evasion rate procs there. And I don't... now they're burning. I don't think they were burning right off the bat. But now they're definitely burning. But we were able to actually get through that. And yeah, wow. Sometimes this fleet feels very RNG. We have so many aspects of RNG here. Even just the Vanguard surviving. Like, if it just procs correctly, the Vanguard will survive, like, for a very long time. And sometimes they just get melted. Alright, well, it's Warspite versus Warspite here. I'm pretty confident that my Warspite is more powerful. It's just whether or not she misses. Yeah, no miss. No, there's a miss. There's no miss. And this should be it. We should get... Because I don't think that she can one-shot us here without a crit, and I'm pretty sure we're going to fire at the same time. Oh, I get to fire first, so not even a question. Yeah, so it didn't even matter. Okay, so my Warspite beat their Warspite. Perfect. And as you can see, The non-communist ships are the ones that are surviving the longest here. All right, we got to use our refresh because we don't want to pick up +9s, or at least try to avoid them as best we can. And this one is no Amagi in it, and so we do have to deal with the Hiru. And I believe this was my first attempt. I just like left it on sniping Warspite rather than moving it to Hiru. I don't think it matters too much in this situation, because I think we're going to have like, yeah, we're just gonna have a Warspite battle off here. And if Lucky E procs, I think we'll be all right. And all right, so our Vanguard versus their Vanguard, kind of interesting here. No, there we go. We got a Lucky E proc finally, not on the first run, but on the second one we got a Lucky E. Hits that final counter. All those torpedoes just missed. Nice Ninghai. They all targeted Ninghai, and they all missed. We would have been in a very bad shape if Ninghai wasn't alive and able to bait all of those homing torpedoes away from our back line, but it does benefit. And at this point, just waiting for Hiru's 15 seconds to be up, and they are perfect. So this guy actually survived that one. Little lucky there. Little lucky there. All right, so this... Now we need to refresh again. No Rainbow Dash. Wow, a lot of people. All right, we got somebody here. This is an interesting fleet with this Namagi Ryu, and it's going to be Azuma and Neptune. And this fleet was a huge struggle. Here, I am fast forwarding here because I'm showing you all the attempts that I tried to actually defeat this fleet. Now, I'm sure if I tried a few extra times, I probably could have gotten this. But this fleet was just not built to do it. Anytime I got any progress, Juno would heal everybody, and on average, the combination of Neptune and Azuma would just shred my front line beyond the evasion rate chances. So we literally had very little success, and eventually I just had to say, hey, this is a rush. We're gonna have to refresh this. I'm sure during like the course of a season, during a week, I'd probably give this a few more shots, see if RNG can help me out. I mean, this is a very RNG oriented fleet, but we were not able to beat this fleet, so congratulations, Radiation. You stalled me for a good hot there, and we had to use our last refresh. We go against Manny again. This is going to be a +9, but we do know we can beat Manny because we've already beaten him before, so we should be able to clear this pretty decently, because once again, no Hiru to have to deal with, which allows us to kind of get the benefit of just having a lot of damage and proccing like Lucky E and stuff. Wow, that fired shot right in the Yatsen just deleted that. We procced both. Oh, they had the Juno and the Pearl Tears together. Okay, well that's unideal, but benefits us because they overhealed basically, and that means that now we're free range here with no heroes, so just like a Lucky E proc should about do it. And yeah, that's game, set, and match. We're just waiting for the next strike here, and boom, Soviet Sky got to live again. Nice. And that is going to do that for that second win here, but once again, +9, and that's going to be a big determinator. As you can see, we are ranked 11, and we didn't get Admiral of the Navy. We have no exercises left, and this, folks, was a failed rush. Don't worry, I ended up getting the rush the next day using the non-communist fleet, but I think this is one of the best types of fleets that we could have used, given the restrictions of trying to use the Chinese and Russian factions. Still not able to get it done. We got caught up on a Namagi Ryu, and we had to take +9s, and we were a little bit slower than normal, so we had to go down, and we're sitting at 11, literally one spot away from an Admiral of the Navy. We're literally the first non-Admiral of the Navy. So that's it, folks. Communism fleet does not work. Communism doesn't work. Have to go try something else. I'll probably do another one of these soon, so thank you guys for tuning in. This fleet was the one that stalled us. Nice job, Radiation. and no Admiral of the Navy for the Communism fleet. Thank you guys for watching. Take care.